Published 2018 Est. 15 November 2017. Updated 2026 Est. 15 November 2017. Death Private Conor McPherson, 24, from Paisley, Renfrewshire, was shot on the military ranges in Otterburn, Northumberland. A young army private shot dead during a nighttime training exercise was mistaken by a colleague for a target. An inquiry has found Private Conor McPherson, 24, was shot in the head on the first day of exercise Wes Storm at the Healy Dodd Range at Otterburn, Northumberland in August 2016. He had already trained in France and Kenya by the time he joined the month-long exercise with colleagues from 3 Platoon A Company 3 Scots. Their final mission that day was to negotiate a firing range, using live ammunition, as they moved towards rigid targets without any fixed illumination. A reconstruction ordered by the Defense Safety Authority's inquiry found that the Lucy night vision goggles worn by Private McPherson were not cleared for use in that type of exercise, mainly owing to its impaired peripheral vision and lack of depth perception. It was also found targets and the range had not been set up correctly for a night vision scope used by another SOLR which relied on thermal contrast. Lieutenant General Richard Felton, Director General of the Defense Safety Authority, wrote in a report the reconstruction demonstrated how the procedures for distinguishing personnel from targets were not robust enough. The inquiry's conclusions, published yesterday, amount to a damning indictment of the circumstances surrounding the rookie SOLR's death, coupled with a series of recommendations designed to prevent another tragedy. The SOLR enlisted into the Royal Regiment of Scotland in May 2014 as a combat infantryman. Lieutenant General Felton said the safety risk present that night was neither recognised, nor the potential consequences understood, by the fire team, supervising staff or battalion leadership. He said he could not understand why the young trainees were subject to an ambitious 18-hour-plus day, involving 9 different shooting sequences. His report found that by 11 p.m., the SOLRs using live rounds were falling about in the darkness. While it was highly likely Private McPherson, from Paisley, Renfrewshire, was shot by one of his colleagues, it was found that one SOLR did not fire a single round because he found it impossible to identify any targets in the gloom. Lieutenant General Felton said the tragic death of Private Conor McPherson serves as a reminder of the dangers inherent in military training. Much-loved Private McPherson was part of a very close-knit family and his great joy was spending time with them at the weekends and over leave, his commanding officer sighed, but he added military training must continue to test and challenge, with progression through a unit's training cycle correctly adding complexity and greater levels of safety risk. To not do so would reduce the value of training and the preparedness of our SOLRs to fight and win in future conflicts. The SOLRs of A Company had only been issued with the new night vision equipment on arrival at Otterburn, and there was no recorded evidence they had been trained to use it. The equipment added confusion as it made it difficult to distinguish the scene under infrared light from a silum light-emitting disposable plastic tube. Weaknesses were also found in the experience of 2 of the supervisors. One had not supervised a range for 9 months and neither had ever supervised a night exercise without lights, nor had they undergone the required refresher courses. Once the fatal shot had been fired, and Private McPherson was seen to fall, senior men gave the order stop, stop, stop to halt the exercise. They also told the trainees to look down the range, as they did not want them to see the extent of their colleagues' injuries. Attempts were made to resuscitate the critical victim and a call went out to seek an air ambulance. Tragedy. The SOLR from the Blackwatch 3rd Battalion, the Royal Regiment of Scotland, D. After suffering a serious head wound at the Otterburn Ranges in Northumberland above, however, officers discovered that the service does not operate in that area at night. By the time an ambulance arrived by road, some 38 minutes after the shooting, Private McPherson was declared dead. Northumbria Police arrived on the scene just after midnight to take charge of the investigation. An Army spokesman said, "Our thoughts remain with the family and friends of Conor McPherson at this difficult time. The safety of our personnel is our absolute priority and, while deaths in training are rare, any death is a tragedy. We are now carefully considering the recommendations from the Independent Service Inquiry. A spokesman for Northumbria Police said the death is still being investigated and Northumbria Police is working with the Health and Safety Executive and the coroner. Training. The 93-square-mile training centre, set up by former Prime Minister Sir Winston Churchill, is the second largest live firing range in the country and has been used since 1911. File picture location. Otterburn is the UK's largest firing range, and is in frequent use. Artillery can be clearly heard from Lindisfarne to the northeastern Fontburn Reservoir in the south. Night vision goggles are not always worn because the idea is to get SOLRS used to firing in the pitch black. Rev. Peter Mander, of the village's St. John the Evangelist Church, said he was a young man doing his duty, a bit of training and a tragic accident like this happens. Anthony Wilson, 44, himself a former SOLR, was travelling back to Edinburgh with his family. He said it is the thing every commander dreads, losing one of your lads in training. In active combat anything can happen, but it shouldn't happen in training. Armed Forces Minister Mike Penning said, "My thoughts are with the SOLRS family, friends and colleagues at this difficult time. The safety of our personnel is our absolute priority, and while deaths in training don't happen often, any death is a tragedy." As well as a police investigation, mod accident investigators are looking into the circumstances surrounding this tragic incident. The victim's next of kin were informed, but the mod did not disclose his identity. Police worked with the Ministry of Defence to establish the exact circumstances of the incident at Otterburn. File picture. It comes little more than a month after Corporal Joshua Hoole, 26, of Ecclefechan, near Lockerbie, on a training exercise in Brecon, Wales. On the hottest day of the year, he died on July 19 while on pre-course training for the platoon sergeant's battle course, taken by infantry SOLRS who want to progress to the rank of sergeant. The 26-year-old, who was based at the Infantry Training Centre in Catterick, North Yorkshire, and was a member of the Rifles Regiment, collapsed after taking part in a fitness test near the Deering Lines Infantry Training Centre at about 6:30 am, when temperatures later peaked at just above 30 C. Corporal Hoole's death came just 3 months after the Defence Select Committee published a report calling for the mod to become liable for prosecution for the deaths of armed forces personnel. The report found that since the start of 2000, 134 military personnel had died while taking part in training exercises, 89 from the Army, 22 from the RAF, 15 were Royal Marines and 8 were from the Royal Navy.